By 1951, America was on the move again. The war was over, highways were expanding, and families were rediscovering the freedom of the open road. Long-distance travel was booming. Soldiers returning home, young couples heading west, businessmen chasing new markets. But the buses that had carried the nation through the 1940s were getting tired. General Motors had just wrapped up its wildly successful PD-4103 Silversides, a true icon of the wartime era. Yet by the early 50s, its design felt dated, heavy, rigid, and rooted in pre-war thinking. The next big leap, the all-new PD-4104, with air suspension and a monocoque frame, was still in testing. GM couldn't afford to sit still, so they built a bridge, the PD-4103. It rode on proven 4102 bones, gained refinements to keep fleets rolling, and faced off against rivals like ACF Brill's IC-41, the flexible Clipper, and Aerocoach P-372. Greyhound, Trailways, and dozens of independents lined up to buy it. GM knew the future was coming, but in 1951, America needed the 4103 right now. From a distance, the PD-4103 still looked every bit the descendant of the Silversides, but up close, you could see the decade turning. The new coach measured 35 feet long and 96 inches wide, seating between 37 and 41 passengers behind a single right-side entry door. Its shape carried over the familiar streamlined modern curves, yet everything felt smoother, lighter, more refined. Less of the wartime bulk, more of the post-war optimism. The windshield was larger and gently curved, giving drivers a wider view of the highway ahead. The rear end borrowed the rounded tail of the 4102, but with cleaner seams and brighter trim. Sharp-eyed spotters could identify a 4103 instantly by the baggage door on the left side, a small quirk that set it apart from earlier models. Up front, the block-letter GM badge sat proudly above polished aluminum moldings that gleamed in the sun. Inside, passengers found a higher ceiling with a soft arch, reclining cloth seats, and, on a few premium coaches, Thermo King air conditioning, a luxury still rare in 1952. If the 4102 was the last echo of the 40s, the PD-4103 was the first true face of the 1950s. Beneath those smooth new lines, the PD-4103 was still a true mechanics machine. Simple, tough, and built to be fixed with a wrench, not a factory computer. Power came from the Detroit Diesel 671, an inline six-cylinder, two-stroke workhorse delivering around 190 to 210 horsepower at 2,100 RPM. Mounted crosswise at the rear, it drove the coach through a central drive shaft. Compact, efficient, and instantly recognizable by that sharp, throaty whine only a 671 could make. Every shift was handled through a Spicer 4-speed manual gearbox, unsynchronized and demanding real skill. Drivers had to double-clutch every change, listening to the revs, matching each gear by feel. Later on, a few coaches were retrofitted with Allison automatics, but most stayed faithful to the manual setup, rugged and direct. Underneath, the 4103 still rode on semi-elliptic leaf springs, the last GM intercity coach before air suspension took over. Its frame was a mix of steel tubing and riveted aluminum panels, what engineers called a semi-monocoque. Lighter than the Silversides, but not yet the one-piece shell of the 4104. Electrical power was improved, and air conditioning, while optional, was a clever experiment. A small pony motor ran an Ingersoll-Rand rotary vane compressor, feeding a larger evaporator than the 4102, boosting cooling efficiency by roughly 15%. Still, in hot southern summers, it struggled to keep up. The system simply lacked the airflow of the next generation. In every sense, the PD-4103 was the last of its kind, the final chapter of GM's traditional mechanical craft before the sleek monocoque era began. In GM's long line of post-war highway coaches, the PD-4103 didn't appear out of nowhere. It was part of a steady evolution that began right after the war. The PD-4101, built from 1946 to 1948, was essentially a stopgap, a rugged transit-style frame wearing the familiar Silver Sides body. It kept America rolling while materials and tooling slowly returned to normal. Then came the PD-4102 in 1948, with a smoother tail section, cleaner aerodynamics, and a new Libby Owens Ford postless rear window, a small but elegant touch that hinted at the design language of the 1950s. By 1951, the PD-4103 refined those ideas. Electrical systems were modernized, the air conditioning improved, and the baggage layout reworked for easier access. The chassis itself was strengthened by about 3%, a subtle gain, but one that mattered to fleets pounding out 1 million miles a year. And then, just 1 year later, came the leap. The PD-4104 of 1953 broke every rule. A true aluminum monocoque body, full air suspension, and a completely re-engineered underfloor AC system. The 4103 didn't reinvent the wheel, but it perfected everything that came before, setting the stage for the revolution that followed. On the road, the PD-4103 quickly proved itself as a workhorse. Its Detroit diesel 671 wasn't just dependable, it was economical. Compared to the gasoline-powered Hall-Scott engines in competing Brill coaches, the diesel burned 30 to 40% less fuel, a difference that showed up fast in every fleet's bottom line. Operators loved it for another reason, too. The 4103 was simple. Mechanics could reach every major component without special tools, and roadside repairs were quick and cheap. Cruising comfortably around 60 miles per hour, the 4103 climbed grades with steady torque and rarely overheated. Its leaf spring ride might have been firm, but it was predictable. Drivers trusted the way it tracked through long desert stretches or mountain curves. Most impressive was its endurance. Many units stayed in frontline service for 15 to 20 years, especially with regional lines like PGH in California or small charters up in Oregon. Some even found second lives as motorhomes and tour coaches. Overshadowed the moment it was born, the PD-4103 nevertheless kept rolling, quietly, faithfully, for 2 full decades after its debut. Fleet records tell the story of just how widely the PD-4103 served. Greyhound was by far the largest buyer, taking delivery of roughly 756 coaches between 1951 and 1952 across 6 regional subsidiaries. You could spot them on rosters like Pennsylvania Greyhound's P5092 to P5199 series, painted in silver and blue, hauling passengers from New York to Chicago or down through the Appalachians. Trailways also operated a modest number, particularly in Texas and Florida, where the 4103's diesel efficiency was prized on long, flat routes. Smaller regional lines followed suit, using the same dependable platform for both intercity and charter runs. By the 1960s, many retired Greyhound units found new lives in private hands. Some were converted into school buses, others rebuilt as motorhomes or church coaches, continuing to earn their keep long after newer models appeared. So if you're flipping through old photos or walking a bus show lot, look for the telltale badge and curved glass. Chances are, that weathered coach once wore a Greyhound dog on its side. For the men behind the wheel, the PD-4103 was both a challenge and a companion. The Spicer 4-speed manual demanded skill. Every shift had to be timed perfectly with a careful double clutch, the driver listening to the hum of that Detroit diesel 671 out back. When the gears meshed just right, the whole coach moved as one, that 2-stroke engine letting out its trademark high-pitched whine that echoed for blocks in city terminals and across open plains alike. It was the sound of America on the move. Passengers, meanwhile, found the ride solid and steady. The leaf spring suspension made it firmer than the silky 4104 that would follow, yet it felt more refined than the old silver sides. The optional Thermo King air conditioning brought relief on mild days, though in hotter climates, operators often shut off the pony motor to save fuel. What the 4103 lacked in cool air, it made up for in scenery, big windows, high seats, and wide views of mountains, rivers, and endless asphalt ribbons stretching ahead. No, the PD-4103 didn't float you down the highway. It worked for every mile, but it always got you there. Like any machine from that era, the PD-4103 had its share of strengths and shortcomings, and it wore them honestly. On the plus side, its Detroit Diesel 671 was nearly bulletproof. Parts were cheap, available everywhere, and any small-town mechanic who'd ever worked on a farm truck could keep one running. The riveted steel and aluminum frame resisted fatigue, handled rough pavement, and could be patched or reskinned in a local shop without factory support. Most important for operators, the 4103 delivered remarkable fuel economy compared to the gasoline coaches it replaced, saving fleets thousands in a single season. But it wasn't without flaws. The leaf spring suspension made for a firm, sometimes choppy ride, and the cabin could rattle on broken roads. The pony motor air conditioning system was clever but fussy, prone to overheating and never quite strong enough in southern heat. And while it carried plenty of luggage for its day, the baggage bays were smaller than the spacious holds of the 4104 that followed. In the end, it was a fair trade. Rugged simplicity over refinement, pure 1950s engineering at its most honest. Today, the PD-4103 has become a rare sight, but not a forgotten one. A few carefully restored examples still survive, each one a rolling time capsule from the early 1950s. The Pacific Bus Museum in California's Bay Area proudly maintains at least one fully restored 4103, often displayed at regional transit events. Private collectors in Oregon, Nevada, and Ontario have also kept a handful alive, many painstakingly rebuilt over decades of weekend work. Online, small but passionate groups like Bus Nut Chronicles and the GM Old Coach Registry share photos, restoration tips, and serial number data, keeping the lineage intact. For spotters, the telltale signs of a true 4103 are easy once you know them. The rear baggage door on the left side, the smooth rounded tail, slender chrome trim, and that one-piece windshield gleaming in the sun. There may not be many left, but those who own one treat it like gold, preserving not just a bus, but a piece of America's open road soul. Park a PD-4103 beside a PD-4104, and you can almost see the line where one era ends and another begins. On paper, the two coaches share the same Detroit Diesel 671, but out on the highway, the difference feels like night and day. The 4103 rides on leaf springs, firm and mechanical, while the 4104's new air suspension glides over bumps with airplane-like smoothness. Drivers used to joke that one worked you and the other floated you. Comfort took a leap, too. The 4103's pony motor air conditioning was clever but clunky, a second engine humming away in the baggage bay, while the 4104's integrated underfloor system was cooler, quieter, and far easier to maintain. Structurally, the 4103's steel frame made it roughly a ton heavier, with 15% less luggage space than its aluminum-bodied successor. And even with identical engines, the lighter 4104 was quicker off the line and burned less fuel mile for mile. Yet the 4103 deserves respect. It wasn't obsolete. It was the last true machine before comfort took over. A coach that still demanded a driver's hands, a mechanic's ear, and a passenger's patience to appreciate the journey. Have you ever ridden or driven a 4103 or 4104? Share your stories in the comments, like if you still remember that Detroit diesel howl echoing down the highway. Subscribe to catch the next story, GMP-4104, The Revolution on Air.